podcast where two friends recap romance novels while giggling and having occasional epiphanies. Listen, these opening lines might just be for me, but boy, do I sit there grinning when I write them. You might even understand it later on this episode. This is the last week you can get your hands on the Dangerous Tides books. When you back the Kickstarter, you get all 6 ebooks this month, and then you also have access to all the special editions. Plus, I don't know if you've seen the chalice shot glass we made, but I'm completely obsessed with it. You can check the Heaving Bosom socials. I can't believe that A, it's real, and B, I made it happen. It's nuts. In Patreon news, I've confirmed the next 3 Patreon author hangs, so you can look forward to spending time with Rebecca Weatherspoon in June, Maureen Linker in July, and Tracy Livesey in August. The night we just had with Sophie Jordan was a super comfy, wide-ranging conversation filled with tons of recommendations, and that audio will be going out to the Patreon podcast feed this week. Today, we've got the final part of The Bride by Julie Garwood. This is the part of the book in which the murderer is revealed and feelings are laid bare. I couldn't quite edit out all of the pooch shenanigans in the background, but I personally think that dogs generally add to the overall charm in any situation. Sabrina and I start this episode with some banter, so if you don't want to hear about my life stuff and 2 truly hilarious stories about Sabrina's aversion to heights, skip to around the 16-minute mark. All right, here we go. Okay, so this weekend, it was a big weekend.
It was. You told me about that.
Yeah. So, listener, Sabrina and I originally recorded, I think, on Thursday. We were like, this book is only 17 chapters. It's historical. We're just going to do it, we said to ourselves. And then we did get a third of the way through the book, as you might recall. And we were like, we'll finish it up on Friday. So then we did get another third of the way through the book, maybe? I don't know. And then I was like, Sabrina, I would love to finish this before I go to a Polycon so I can pre-edit and I'll be able to, pre-schedule episodes. It'll be amazing. But I cannot because I have a giant weekend, including but not limited to my kid's birthday party at a trampoline park. And it was a success. It was a giant success.
I was going to ask about that. I'm
update.
so excited.
Mm-hmm. And all the moms who, because we've been to a party there before for a different kid, and all the moms were like, so are you jumping today? Because I'm the person who I fucking love a trampoline park, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot get enough of stuff like that. So every other parent just stands on the side and is responsible and watches their kid and maybe talks to other parents or whatever. And meanwhile, I just pay the $30 or whatever it is to get my own jump socks. And I just play with the kids the whole time. And it's amazing. It's the best thing ever.
So I'll tell you the one time I've been to a trampoline park. My siblings are way younger than me. My sister's 15 years younger. My brother's 19 years younger. And 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, I went home to visit family for a week. I was there for 1 week. The first full day that we were there, my siblings really wanted to go to a trampoline park. And I was like, yeah, that sounds super fun. So I went with them. And I had a great time with them. Yeah. And then I could not move.
Yep.
For the next 4 days. They're like, let's go do all these fun things together. And I was like, children, you have to understand that not a single one of you is even in your double digits. And I am significantly more than my double digits. And I no longer work out regularly. And I am in agony. They'd grab my shoulder and I'd be like, oh God, this is how I die.
So, yeah, no, I hear you. But it's just it's so fun. And I don't know. I think it makes it a little bit easier to like make sure all the kids are involved, you know?
Mhm.
Um and anyway, so I was like, "No, I'm going to be responsible and like help run the party or whatever." But I I was like I told Michael that I am going to be bringing the kids back just one weekend for me, and I'm going to jump my heart out then. And like that's the price we're paying right now for me to be responsible at this party. I will be bribed with other fun time.
Mhm. I feel like that's totally
So,
fair.
yeah, I agree. Thank you. Thank
Like, you
you.
deserve a weekend at the trampoline park, frankly.
God, and like ours is fine. The one near us is fine, but it's like a little bit older and a little bit more rundown. We went to a different one that's like an hour away, and it's got this like ball pit that's basically an American Ninja Warrior thing. And it is, I mean, I
That's
had
how the
the
one I
most
went
fun
with my
there.
siblings. I was like, "Oh my god, are we like, are we applying for American
I know.
Ninja
I
Warrior?"
know.
They had the fighty things and
Yes. They had
they
the
look
thing
like
where you like jump across, like one they're
uh-huh.
slanted on the sides.
Yeah, there were like
Yeah.
there were it was absurd. Like there were some that were you like bounced up onto it, like it was a whole obstacle course, and like I
Yeah.
was getting owned by these children. All of these children.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't even they're climbing walls. I was like, are you even supposed to be climbing that wall? Is that a climbable wall? And turns out, yes, it was a climbable wall. And then of course, I'm actually
Yeah.
afraid of heights,
Oh,
specifically heights that can hurt me. If I'm gonna die,
okay.
not a problem. Doesn't bother me. But like, I don't want the recovery time for if something goes wrong.
Okay,
And
yeah, I hear that.
so like skydiving, okay. Bungee
Alright.
jumping, never in a million fucking years will I ever do that. I might do that, but it
You
would take
might.
maybe. I won't say in a million years, but
Yeah.
like or like walking on like tall walls. Nope, I don't like that because if I fall and break my arm, I have to deal with that broken arm, and I'd rather just die. So I got up to the top of this stupid thing at the trampoline park, and it was like maybe my siblings convinced me to do it, and I was like, I don't know that that's a good idea, guys. Like
Mhm.
that's real high up there, and they're like, it's not that high, and I was like, I cannot believe that I'm being spoken to by somebody 3 feet tall
Yeah.
telling me that that's not that high, because I'm looking up at this like skydive thing. It looks like a
I'm
diving board,
intimidated.
and I'm
Yeah.
almost 6 foot. So I'm looking up at this thing like that's very high. Meanwhile, these munchkins are like, that's not that high. And I was like, I'll freaking show you high, you little turd. And then, of course, because my siblings are saying this, another small crowd of small children.
Oh, no.
Now I have like 10 to 15 small children being like, it's not that high. You can do it.
Mhm.
Just go up there. Face your fears. And I was like, God, I'm being like encouraged / bullied by a
Yeah.
bunch of 8-year-olds,
Mhm.
and like they're peer pressuring me. Like this is
Yeah.
like I didn't need to worry about peer pressure growing up for like drugs, but I do have to worry about peer pressure from 8-year-olds to jump off something that's a little higher than comfortable. So they convinced me to do it, and I walk
Yeah.
up this stupid thing, and as I'm getting higher and higher, I'm like, I can feel my heart rate picking up, and I'm like, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to do this. So I get up and I can feel it. I'm like, I was like, where's my Klonopin? I need my pen. Like, where's my case of emergency medication? So I
Oh
get up
my
to the top
God.
of this thing, and I'm like, okay, I do it. I'm just not gonna look down. And I was like getting ready to jump, and they were like, you have to look so you can aim. And I was like, fuck.
No.
So I like looked, I like glanced down real quick, and it was
Mm-hmm.
immediate. I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I have to go back down the stairs. And this small child comes up behind me. And the small child says, it's okay. I've done it. It's fun. You can do it. I've already done it. And I'm like, what is it? Like, what must be going through this child's head? Like, I have already braved the fall of doom. This tall lady should be able to do, like, it's safe for her because it was safe.
This is a grown up.
This is a grown up. And they were just like, there's little gigantic baby eyes looking at me saying, "You can do it." And I was like mesmerized by this child. And I was like, "You're right, I can do it." And so I like walked, I feel like I got like hypnotized. I walked to the end of the thing and then I jumped. And the minute my feet left the ledge, it was all gone. All of the reassurance from the small child was gone. And as I was falling through the air, I was like, what have I done? What have I done? And of course, then I hit. Everything was fine, but like my siblings were like, "Let's do it again," and I was like, "No, I will not be going on that again." So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Peer pressured by a bunch of small children at a trampoline park. Who needs drugs when you have small children telling you to jump off high things?
You were taking your life in your hands, Sabrina. I get it.
They were taking my life in their hands. I don't trust 8-year-olds. Why would I trust an 8-year-old?
That's very true. Yeah. Around me, there's like this, there's this, I don't know, I guess it's like called a canopy obstacle something or other. It's basically like an obstacle course or like a course that's all ropes
but it's up
way
in
up
the
in the air.
I want to do one of those so bad, but I know that at some point I will hold on to something and I will not let go because I've had that happen before. Oh my God. Okay, so now I have to tell you another story real quick that has to do with something like that. It was at church camp or some shit when I was like 13. I've always been like this, by the way. They had this thing where you climb up this fucking, like, it looks like a telephone pole using, like, things. So you climb up to the top, and there's this little platform at the top that's, like, 2 feet by 2 feet, maybe. And then you're attached to a bunch of, 2 bungee cords on either side of you.
Okay.
That go to some poles. Okay. And then there's a bar, like, some fucking trapeze artist who's been working in Barnum and Bailey's for, like, their entire life. Not afraid of anything, where you're supposed to jump from this platform to grab onto that thing.
What? No.
I got, peer pressure. It's so easy. It's so easy. I'm so impressionable. And they were like, you could do it. I get up to the top of this thing, and to stand up, you have to, like, stand up. And so I'm holding on to this thing, and I go to stand up, and then I realize, oh my God. And like, so in reality, I was probably maybe like 20 or 30 feet off the floor.
It's enough.
In my mind, it's like one of those movie scenes where it's like, it like goes longer. It goes super long. And of course, you're on this giant pole, so it's swaying. And
oh my God.
I grab onto this thing, and I freeze. And the people down at the bottom are like, okay, Sabrina, like, stand up.
You gotta
and I was like, I can't stand up. And they were like, you have to stand up. And I was like, I can't move. And we're yelling at each other. And they're like, you have to come down, Sabrina. I was like, I can't. This is where I live now. Where's my sleeping bag? And they're like, you literally cannot stay up there. Like, you have to come back down. And I was like, you do not understand. I cannot come back down. And they're like, okay, well, we'll help you stand up. Like, we'll take the slack off of the bungee cord and help you stand up. And I was like, you can't do that. And they were like, you have to. So they start, like, pulling on it. And I won't let go. And so, like, the harness around my middle is, like, I look like an angry cat with my back arched because they're trying to pull me off of this platform in the sky. They're trying to pull me off with the bungee cords, and I won't let go. Like, now I am fully
committed.
Koala'd onto this thing. Like, I have laid down against it. My arms are completely around it. My legs are, like, around the corner, and they're like, now they're not just trying to pull and help me up. They're like yanking on me. And every time they do that, it sways more.
No.
And so I'm just like, now I'm screaming. They're screaming. We're all screaming. The children have left the lake to come watch me on this. So they're all like, it's okay, Sabrina. And of course, like it's a church camp, so everyone's like, I'm praying for you. And I'm like, that's not gonna help me right now. Like,
no.
So they're like yanking me, and then they finally. All I know is 1 second I am attached to thing, holding on for my life.
Maybe the Holy Spirit really came over you.
Maybe it did. Like came over and pried my fingers out of the wood. They like finally they yank, and I go popping off, and because it's a bungee cord, there was like
bounce.
Not just bounce, like I flew into the air because of the
because of the tension.
Yeah, because they were pulling on it so hard, like them against me, and apparently I don't value my life because I was hanging on for my life, and my life is apparently not worth much to me or worth much strength. So they yank me off. I go flying, and I'm like boing, yoing, 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 like up and down and up and down, and I'm screaming.
Obviously.
Screaming. And then I'm like, they slowly let me down, and I end up on the ground, just like curled into a ball, screaming still. And they're like, you're fine, you're on the ground. And I was like, ah! Ah! And then, like, I ended up screaming so hard, I had to go to the medical office for like throat soothing.
Oh my God. That is ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyway,
I love it.
That was a total tangent, but it just made like it's just I don't do heights, and like it's always small children that are like, you can do the thing, and I'm like, I have experience that I cannot do the thing.
My history tells me that I actually should not. Thank you. Thank you for
it though.
I mean, it's so...
After I'm done, I'm like, wow, that was so much fun. Never want to do it again, but I'm glad I did it. Like, you're glad you did that? You were in agony. It's fine.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're in chapter 14, right?
My God, I cannot believe we're only in... How did we turn this book into 3 episodes?
Listen, it's jam-packed, and so are we.
Girl,
okay?
I reread... the last 3 or 4 chapters this evening, and like
there's enough details to fit into 7.
My God, there's so much. It's it's less than 100 pages that we have left to go, and we're about to make this a whole last episode. So chapter 14.
So what happens at first? I listened to it again today, but now I can't remember.
I don't remember. So so the last thing that we had from last episode was our creepy little italics murderer being like, I'll not finish the kill until... Oh, so we're like smack at the beginning of 14. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're right at the beginning of 14.
By the way, I was thinking about this because we haven't commented on this once this time around. So we know that there's creepy murder and all of these things, and like Alec is protecting her this whole time. We have not mentioned that Fishbowl Jamie is fully on a like... mystery machine search him out. What's the word I'm looking for? Investigation.
Oh, yeah, she's doing an investigation. She's doing a big search him out.
She's like
to find her
asking
answers.
all the people. She's like, do you know about Helena? Why was Helena set? Like blah blah blah. Did you notice? And so like that's something of note. Jamie's digging into this shit as best as she can with her sweet little
fishbowl brain.
Yeah.
Yep. No,
sometimes she would ask a question, I was like, darling.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say. No, there's nothing beyond darling.
Yeah.
So we start off with Alec being like, okay, I need to go talk to Angus. So if you don't remember, Angus is the dude who everyone was like, he's dead. And she's like, he's not dead. And they're like, oh, well, he'll be dead in 2 days. So he's recovering, right? So Alec decides to go visit Angus and get like the lay of the land. Because Angus is his like one of his little besties. And so he needs some advice. And of course, Angus is older and more experienced. And it's
he's
like,
3
Angus
summers
is
older.
3 summers older, sir. By the way, like, how old? Do we know how old?
No
Alec
idea.
is? Okay.
No,
Okay.
I imagine he's 27.
That's so specific.
Yeah, I don't know. It just popped into my brain.
That works, because I know that we've decided that Jamie's like 19-ish, 18 or 19.
She's 19 at the maximum. Yeah, because there's already been the attempted murder on her. That's what happened at the very end of last episode. You're totally right.
With the fire.
So, yeah. So he goes to see Angus because he has taken that nap and he's feeling very refreshed and renewed.
And nobody will stop giving him shit about the fact that he took a nap.
The
Especially
Kincaid took a nap?
because Jamie comes out and he went to take a nap because she needed a nap, but he ends up falling asleep and she's like, I'll leave him here. And so she gets up and leaves while he's napping. And then she comes out, she's like, please don't disturb him. He needs his rest. And Gavin's just like, I'm sorry. Pardon?
So she decides that she's going to go like clean out the top room because she's sick of sleeping in that blanket fort in the Great Hall.
Fair.
Yeah, right? That just seems reasonable. And he goes to see Angus because he wants to make sure his ideas about increased security are on point and like figure out what to do and see if they can find them this murderer.
Yeah, because he wants to set a trap.
Absolutely.
He's decided they are setting a trap for this little mousy.
So he does that. He chats with Angus. Angus is like a big mad because stitches or, he can't have wine or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, because Elizabeth goes to get Alec a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And then Angus is like, can I have wine? And she's like, absolutely not. The mistress of the manor has said no wine for you, which I repeat, I feel like wine is the safer choice.
Ugh, you don't know what you don't know, though,
Yeah. But any hoodles. So anyway, like he won't get it, and then like finally she leaves, and Angus is like, "Give me some of your wine." And so Alec,
because she takes the bottle.
She takes the bottle.
Alec is like, she knows you really well.
Oh my god! Can I just say that like Elizabeth and Angus,
they're so sweet. They're so sweet.
I love them.
I love them. Yeah. So when he comes back, he sees her because she's leaning out the window, thinking, like looking at two soldiers that he's posted below her window to like make sure she's safe. And he can see that she's like listening in on what they're saying.
And they're speaking in Gaelic.
Yeah. So he realizes that she understands this whole necrophilia joke that she should not understand because they're speaking Gaelic. And he's like, that wily minx. Like, he actually loves it. He's like, this is hilarious. I told all my men to like get better at English so that she would like settle in better. And this bitch has just been listening to us talk the whole time. He thinks it's great. And then he decides that turnabout's fair play, and he's going to start fucking with her in Gaelic, knowing that she can't say anything about it.
Because both of their love languages is baiting.
Oh, absolutely.
And giving each other shit.
Good point.
Words of fuckery is their love language.
It's true.
Although I will say, like, this is such a small detail, but it brought me so much joy because she's listening to this weird fucked up joke this whole time, right? And she's just like along for the ride, and then they finish it, and the punchline is basically about English women being fish and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And she's like,
oh, that's what the joke is. Oh, that makes sense. Yep. Oh. I don't think I got the joke until just now.
The joke is that English women don't react in bed.
They lay there and think of the queen or whatever.
And they don't react. There's no reaction in bed, and so like you wouldn't notice the difference between an English woman and just
Oh no.
Oh, Melody.
Oh. Wow.
But I adore you.
Golly.
So she hears that punchline though, and she's like,
big mad.
Abso-fucking-lutely not. She goes back into that room, and Alec is watching this whole thing. She comes back out with a fucking giant bucket of soapy water because she's been cleaning that room, and she just like dumps it out onto them. They start like cursing and freaking out, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, boys.
I didn't see you there.
I didn't see you there." And Alec's just like, I love this one.
And they're like, "Oh, mistress, I'm so sorry. We didn't know it was you. You can dump water on us anytime. Anytime you can."
And meanwhile, and then like, so Alec goes up and starts baiting her because of course that's what they do. And then this part just made me so if somebody did this to me IRL, I would freaking kick them in the balls so fast. But they're so cute. I love them together. And Alec looked forward to the insults he planned to hurl at her.
Yeah.
She was such a little temptress when she was riled. and he was just the man to rile her.
Oh, I love it.
It's really good. It's really good.
Oh, man.
So he goes in and like all her shit is there.
Everywhere her shit has arrived.
Yeah.
It is hoarder
It's
central.
like 4 pack horses of, sky high luggage has arrived, including but not limited to this newfangled ridiculous thing that is a chair with bent wood on the bottom. And she's like, I know, it's not gonna become a trend or whatever. And that's like sort of the through joke about this rocking chair, because everybody thinks that it's like
what the
silliest thing they've ever seen. Yeah. So that, and there is a tapestry that she wants to hang over a mantle.
Her sisters made it for her birthday.
That's the one. Yeah. And so she's like, Gavin, go hang this up. Do not look at it though, because I want us to all experience its glory together here on the ground. So Gavin goes and hangs it above the mantle, and they're like, what the fuck is that? And she's like, it's our dear Henry the Conqueror. Isn't that beautiful?
William.
And they're like, what? Oh, William, whatever. And he's like, well, what's on his head? And she's like, oh, that's a halo.
He hasn't been sainted yet, but like,
it's on the way.
It's already
It's in the
happening.
works. Absolutely.
And this was her birthday present.
Yeah.
Are you gonna? Yep. Would you like a tapestry of President Biden with a halo on his head?
No, but if you were to get me, I don't know, Betty White or Lizzo or, you want to put a halo on them and cross stitch them up, I would take that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
think that, maybe it's because I don't live in 1100 or hell, this would actually have been a great gift probably all the way up through like 1900 or 1950.
That's fair.
Or some shit like that. But like, if you tried to give me any world leader with a halo on their head, I would look at you and I'd be like,
yeah, we're not doing that.
No, thank you. But yeah, so it goes up there and Alec is like, that shit's coming right back down, babe. Like, that is not staying there. And then
she's offended.
Oh yeah, she's pissed. She's like,
but
absolutely
Father
not.
Murdoch comes to the rescue.
He's like, well, what if we put a fine tapestry of King Edgar, the Scottish king, up there? We'll have both of them. And Alec is like, fine, if it's bigger.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, she's like, I'm gonna make it smaller.
Yep. Or maybe I'll just make it the exact same size, but he doesn't get a halo.
No halo.
That's the final answer. Yeah. And it's really cute because Father Murdoch does this whole like beer metaphor where he's like, what do you get where you mix water with beer, Alec? And he's like, fucking watered down ale, like piss water or whatever. And he's like, yeah. And you can't like take it out of the mix, right? And he's like, yeah. And so, English, Scottish, we're putting our traditions and our lives together or whatever. And it should be the same thing. So the tapestries go side by side. And then Alec's like, okay, fine. But that comes down until the tapestry for Edgar is ready. So maybe you should get on that. Get somebody to start. Because otherwise it's never going back up. It's so good. Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Aaron, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Aaron and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass.
And this is, of course, so we mentioned this in the first episode about the rocking chair and like all the sadness about how the 4 daughters would sit on his lap, but she didn't get to, and all of these things. So this is where he finds out about it. And then one of the lines, like when I tell you this straight up shot me in the heart, and like I had to write down in a therapy journal because I was like, I'm gonna have to talk about this, was Jamie had confused love with need. He thought that perhaps in her mind, she really didn't know the difference. And like, I teared up a little bit. That gave me a lot of feelings. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And then
that's one of my stress responses, it doesn't matter what's happening. If anybody is mad at me, but mostly people that I live with, I immediately start cleaning. And it's because that was my coping mechanism growing up. I was just like, oh, can I hear my mom's car coming down the driveway? What do I need to clean? Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Is she mad at me? What can I tidy up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then we continue on after all of this. And this is when I had mental whiplash because I have timeline things in my brain this whole time. And I've been like, how, like, what? I guess this must have been over a couple of, like, but how would that work? And I was, like, trying to, like, rationalize it in my head. And then, quote, "You've had quite a day, Jamie," Gavin remarked. "First, you battle a fire, and then you battle a determined woman." Because she's also had a talk with Edith today.
Oh,
and then Jamie's response was, I was like, damn, that both of those things happened today? And then I was like, but wait. And then she took care of it because she said, actually, I battled a fat boar, then Alec, then the fire, and last Edith. And that's when my brain just like shut down for a solid like 5 minutes. I was like, how in the fuck?
And there were 2 sexings in the midst of those.
Yes. 2. One against a tree. This is tree sex scene because that happens when the boar thing happens. And then there's bed sex scene, which leaves just Alec plumb tuckered out.
As he should be.
We have nap time Alec. And
she's also cleaned out an entire dusty room by this point. Like, it's not even 1 p.m. And all of this has happened because so with Edith, we'll just like break it down really quickly. Basically, Edith has been a big old bitch to her every single time she comes into the room. Including but not limited to when she comes in from cleaning, the room or whatever. Edith is like, what, did you fall into a bucket of sudsy water? And Marcus, her brother, is like, you will not talk to the Laird's wife like that. And Edith's like, you can suck my nuts, basically. And so then Jamie's like, nope, we're going to have it out. We're going to make this be done. And so she's like, she has Annie leave because she doesn't want the poor child to like deal with the stress of their, conflict. And she goes in on Edith. She whispers in Marcus's ear, basically like, no matter what I say, go along with me. And then she turns to Edith and she's like, what is your problem with me? You're gonna tell me. And like, I'm the Laird's wife. I am the mistress of this house. I can change whatever I want. And if you're not going to get on board with that, I can have you leave. I can turn you into an exile with 1 sentence. And Edith is like, no, you can't. Marcus would never allow that. And she's like, yeah, he absolutely would. And Marcus just sort of like stands there nodding. And then Edith is like, she's like, so like, tell me, what is it about me that you hate so much? And Edith's like, you're trying to replace Helena and you took her thing out of that. And she goes to like hit Jamie and Jamie grabs her hand and twists it so that Edith goes down onto her knees. And then Edith just like cries into Jamie's stomach.
Sobbing.
And she's like, oh my God, I almost hit you. I'm so sorry. Like she's horrified with herself. Both the men have come up to be like, protect Jamie's body. And now she's just like, get away, get away. And she's stroking Edith's hair and being like, I'm so sorry I had to lie to you. That whole time, you're a really important member of this clan. I would never send you away. Your brother would never want to live without you. Like, I'm not trying to replace Helena. I might be Jamie's wife, but I want to make sure that Helena has a place and a memory here. And Edith's like, he never talks about her. She's like, it's painful for him. And then Edith mentions that Helena had a daughter.
Yeah, a daughter.
Like
this is an existing
like an
daughter.
Teensy
And
one.
she was waiting to go get the baby until Alec came back from war because they were going to go get her together. But she died before he came back from war.
And so the baby had been living with the grandmother for most of its life. But then I guess like 3 months ago.
Grandma died.
The grandmother died and she got sent to like distant fucking relations.
Yeah.
So Jamie is like, I mean like blow her top mad. She actually like stumbles and has to sit down because like all the blood either rushes into or out of her head.
Uh-huh.
And she's fucking mad because she's like, if that baby exists, then that is Alec's daughter.
And now my baby. Baby.
That's my baby. Absolutely.
She has decided that she gonna go get that baby.
She's gonna go get that baby. That's right. So she's like, Marcus, how long would it take to get there? And he's like, well, it's a 3-hour ride. And this is where I start going, it's probably
timelines don't make sense. But like it's gotta be earlier because like a 3-hour ride there means a 3-hour ride back. So like it's probably actually like 11 a.m.
No, it couldn't be. No, because everybody's had their nooning meal. She got attacked when everybody else was at their nooning meal. And I don't know if it's different in Scotland times.
It's like winter time. Doesn't that mean it gets dark early? Like they're going to be leaving at 1?
It's not winter time.
It's starting to get cold or it's stopping being cold. It's like spring or fall. So like
fair enough.
I don't live in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
But like
you're not a Highlander?
But I'm sure that, oh God, I wish. But like, God, every day I've been reading this modern Highlander series lately. It's so fucking good. Incredible. It's by Jolie Vines. Fucking awesome. Hard recommend. And all I can think, like, I'm just like, is this, like, I go to England next month for 2 weeks and we're going to Ireland and Scotland, and I was like, is this it? Is this when I meet the love of my life and move to Scotland and live in the Scottish Highlands for the rest of my life?
Oh my God, it could happen. It could happen. You could eat meat pies forever, Sabrina.
Oh, man.
Do you like meat pies?
I do like a meat pie. I also like a veggie pie.
I mean, so same here. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So, wow, I completely derailed myself because I was like, God, give me a Highlander. Please.
No, but you're right, because if it's like, say it's 12:30, then she's not getting home until like 7:30 at the earliest.
There's no way that it is not going to be dark by 5 or 5
It is dark when she gets home. That's what. Isn't it dark? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So
Anyway, so she's like, we're going. How do we get there?
My horse.
Will you take me? So she and Marcus and Gavin are on their little ponies and they start going down, and Alec is hanging out with his warriors and they're doing some training practice, right? Yeah. She's riding bareback, by the way, and she's coming down the hill, and Alec turns around, like everyone's staring up the hill, and so he turns around to see what it is, and he says
he has no idea what they're looking at, but he can guarantee that Jamie is behind it. Like Jamie has done whatever it is. He's right.
He is. But then he turns around and he's like, fucking boner town.
He's
Look
like,
at
hey
that
girl.
horsemanship. Like, boy, yo, yoing. Oh.
I mean, and like, would also do it for me.
Fair.
Hair blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
She guides Wildfire to turn just by using her knees. I'm sorry. That's hot.
It is.
It's great stuff. So then she comes up and he's like, wife, what do you think you're doing? She's got
I'm going hunting.
Yeah. She's got a bow and arrow on her back and a quiverness. And he's like, oh yeah, you're going hunting with like a bow. She's like, yeah, I'm really good at it. And he's like, oh sure, wink, wink, nudge. She's like,
fuck you.
Let me show you.
Hit that target.
Yeah.
And so she does. And then
she does. Well, no, because Wildfire, this asshole, keeps on moving her head right in front of Jamie's aim. And so Jamie tosses her shoes off and then stands up on Wildfire's back. and then makes the shot, and he's like at her side when she sits back down, and he's like, do not ever do that again. She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, do not ever stand on your horse. You're taking your life in your hands. And she's like, Alec, I'm used to just like galloping through the field, standing on my horse whenever the mood strikes me.
And he's like,
you
not anymore, you're not.
Oh my God.
And then,
so
like,
anyway,
of course, of course, oh, wait, the kiss happens before he learns about the target.
Yeah.
Because that was...
He's like, you forgot something.
Uh-huh.
She's like, oh, I'll give you a kiss on the brow. Mwah.
So she kisses him on the brow, and then he's like, I meant you forgot your saddle. And then they're like, oh, she's like, well, I'm used to riding bareback and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. And then he like pulls her down, and he's like, you'll never kiss me like that again. And she's thinks,
like, oh no, he hates public displays of affection.
And then he full on like noms the shit out of her face, pulls her off the horse, like just like this intense, incredible, crazy. Everyone's like around, like they're like, yeah, whooping and hollering and like all that. It is
some raucous tonsil hockey. Okay.
Yeah.
Woo. And then one of the guys is like, you missed the target. And she's like, no, I absolutely did not. My arrow will be in the middle. Go look. And the guy's like, whoa, she did it.
And so then it gets even more raucous. And like, and then of course Alec is like, okay, fine, you can go hunting, but you have to take 10 more people.
Yeah.
And
so they take 10 more soldiers. And then she's like, okay, I'm not going to come back empty handed. And he's like, cool sauce.
Uh-huh. And then of course, God bless Jamie. She goes gallivanting off, and Marcus runs right up next to her and grabs the reins, and he's like, and she just looks at him, and she's like, oh no, again.
Yeah.
And he just turns her around.
And they do a big old U-turn.
And they run off again because Jamie could not find her way out of a room with a single door in it.
Nope. She could not. Yeah, so then Alec is really worried because this was a very late hour to take a 6-hour round trip walkabout, you know? And I'm sure they had to spend time like talking about whether or not she could take the baby. So yeah, he's worried, and he's like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I'm trying to like keep it together here, and like Gavin and Marcus and all the men would never put her in any danger or whatever. And then he turns around and she's standing at the top of the steps. And he's like, oh, thank goodness. But her skirts are doing a swish and a sway. Her skirts are doing a little
dusty
rustle.
Little face pokes out the side of her skirt.
Oh, no. And she's like, okay, Mary Kathleen, it's time to go meet your papa. And like tries to take the kid, who's like 3 at this point, over to Alec. And the kid's like scared. And I don't blame her. And meanwhile, Alec's thinking to himself, I mean, she's wearing a Kincaid plaid, so that means she belongs to somebody here. And she's like, oh, this is your daughter. And he's like, my what now? Like, no.
And then she tells him all about it. She tells him about how, like, this child was Helena's child, and they just hadn't gone to get it and stuff like that. And then, like, boy howdy, Papa Alec comes down to play.
He steps up to the plate.
He does. And she's all worried. Jamie's all worried that he's gonna be like, abso-fucking-lutely not, get that child out of here. And I mean, he does not.
You'd think she would talk to him about it first, so that she doesn't traumatize the child with his rejection.
What? Have you met Jamie?
She does not do that.
Melody?
I know.
Never in a million years would she ask and clear this
Jamie.
with him first.
I know.
She's like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah, and luckily he doesn't. He doesn't traumatize the child with rejection. And so she's like, yeah, we got there. I was just gonna go visit. I was just visiting,
just to get the plan,
but then,
lay of the land, see how the child's doing.
Just
except
check
for
up.
Fucking grandma, kid or auntie or whoever they're living with, kid that Mary Kathleen is living with,
doing a big abuse on her.
Fuck that asshole. Yeah, and so like. Jamie wasn't having none of it. She was like, absolutely not. She takes the plaid that the child is wearing and throws it on the ground, which is and like a big old thing. So like Marcus spits on it. So let's just we're at 2 wars for today alone.
This is the 3rd one.
We're gonna add a 3rd. Or I guess the wars were from yesterday, but for the week.
Doesn't matter.
And so like we're just gonna add another one because that's like the biggest number one like
Well, that's
like, I
bananas.
bite my thumb at you
Oh,
thing
yeah.
to do in 1100s Scotland. Like, you do not put that plat
Absolutely.
on that ground. And then, so they straight up kidnap this child.
They do. Well, and she's like, we have both been derelict in our duties toward this child because she's our baby. And yet, like, you sent her off to grandma. Did you know that grandma died? And she's been with distant relations who I'm ashamed to say are English and only want your like monthly stipend or whatever it is that you're giving them. And she was getting mistreated terribly. And so she's like, once I saw some bruises on her when I changed her plaid, that's when I decided that she was going to come live with us. And he was like, Jamie, that's absolutely not true. You did say you were not going to come back empty-handed. You were going to bring this kid back the whole time. And she's like, you know what? Fine. You're not wrong. And I don't know. It's great though, because this is exactly what Jamie thinks her dad/stepdad did for her, except she's going to do it right for Mary Kathleen. And it's really beautiful. And then, of course, Edith comes out and Edith's like, oh my God. And Alec is like, this kid stinks and we need to fix that.
You need to go wash that baby.
Yeah, go wash that
That's
baby.
a smelly baby.
That's a
So, of
dusty
like,
baby.
There ends up being like literally every woman we have met in the entire book up until now is now in the Great Hall, and they are all giving this baby a bath.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. They all just come out of
Yeah.
nowhere and they're like, we're bathing this baby. So of course they do in the blanket fort, because blanket
That's
fort
right.
also has bathtub. And so you can hear them on the other side, like cleaning and washing. And this just made me laugh because so Alex starts talking to his peeps and he's talking and Jamie's like, you know, I can hear you. And he's like, you shouldn't be listening because you should be paying attention to baby. This is not your business. And she's like, what the fuck? And it just had me amused the entire time.
Yeah, it was really cute. And Edith says like, oh, she's such a beautiful child. And Jamie says, we have to tell her that every day. She could never feel like an outsider. And I was just like, oh, Jamie, I'm so sorry.
I know.
So, yeah. So
and then they come
oh,
out of the bath and like there's like it's time to like settle down for dinner, and this had me absolutely just rolling because she gives the baby, she gives Mary Kathleen to Alec and is like, go hang out with baby. And so they go sit on the rocking chair, and then he starts telling her a story, and like Gavin and Marcus are sitting there.
What kind of bedtime story can I come up with?
And so, you know, Jamie's just meandering about the Great Hall doing things. She's upstairs getting the second bedroom ready because I don't remember if we mentioned this, but she has decided that they will no longer be sleeping in the Great Hall. They are having that bedroom. That's why she is moving all of the stuff out.
And now she wants Mary Kathleen in the bedroom next to them so that she can hear her.
Exactly.
And she's taking the stitches out of Angus is the other thing she's doing.
That too. Yeah. Angus is going to be real happy he can have wine again soon. So then she comes back out and everybody is enthralled. Elizabeth is standing next to them listening to the story, but she looks a little bit more concerned than everybody else. And then as
she's thinking to herself, oh my gosh, this man, he's such a dreamboat. I knew he would be such a good father. And then she gets close enough. And what happens, Sabrina?
She gets close enough. And Alex telling like a brutal story about war. When she comes
battle
up,
that he won.
Yeah. She comes up and he's like and Alex is like, and then we chopped off his arm. And then Jamie's like, what are you doing? And she like grabs that baby up. And by the way, Alec and Mary Kathleen are sitting in the rocking chair, and that gave me a lot of feels. But she like grabs that baby up. She's like, you're gonna give the baby nightmares. What are you doing? And so she does take that baby and she does go off and she's like, it's bedtime.
No, not yet. Yeah, because he says like, okay, she says, all right, go say goodnight to your papa. And Mary Kathleen goes over and like, you know, sort of like gives him a little snuggle or whatever. And he says, all right, good night, Mary Kathleen. I will finish your story tomorrow. You go get in your bed. And then Mary Kathleen gets down and toddles over to the front of the fireplace and lays down on the floor in front of the fireplace. And they realize that's where she thinks she's supposed to sleep.
I forgot about I'm actually,
Yeah.
my brain may have purposefully blocked that
I
out
know.
because it's so
It's so sad. I know. And so she goes over and picks her up and she's like, I think that's where she thought she was supposed to sleep. And then she says, you know what, though? I'm really happy because it's clear that her grandmother, for the first, most of her life, loved her and was really, really good to her. And Alec is like, why do you think that? And she says, well, because she's got such a good temperament. And, so it's clear that like the abuse started very, very recently and it might not cause like, permanent trauma. Whereas,
which, like, how that is a very progressive mindset about. Also, like, I'm not gonna lie, it did click for, like, in general, her approach to all of this is like just kind of shocking. It took me out for a hot second. I was like, we're just gonna accept it and hop right back in. But like, even when she was like, I can't believe that this woman used a switch on this baby's legs, and it's like, probably people in your manor are also using switches on baby legs like that.
Yeah.
That just seems like up until real recently.
Really recently. I was just talking to a neighbor who went to school in the UK, and he was like, yeah, no, they would beat the shit out of us, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know, 40, maybe.
People my age, I have lived in the South for 10 years now. And so like, I didn't know this this wasn't a thing I dealt with growing up. But like, people my age are like, oh yeah, I used to have to go in the yard and find a stick. And I was like,
shit, bro.
What? You're 30.
Oh no.
Like, you had to, I don't know how to feel about that. And they're like, it was just how it was. And I was like, okay, well,
okay.
I'm gonna do a full Jamie Kincaid. If I ever find out you're telling your kids to go find a stick in the backyard, I will be coming and stealing that baby.
I will abscond with that child. Yes,
I will.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. But, so then she takes her to bed and Alex starts doing a noodle. Because he's, meanwhile, the whole rest of the day, he's been going around to the rest of Helena's, like, family members that remember her. And he's been asking about Helena and, like, what she was like and what was going on with her. Because he didn't really get to spend very much time with her after they were married. Because A, they were married a very short time. And B, he was, like, off gallivanting for the king or something during that time. So he just sort of assumed that everybody was right about her being totally miserable. But now it seems like other people's recollections don't line up with that at all. And
not at all. Like,
he does find out. Yeah, we find out that one of the reasons that Annie came to live with Helena when Helena married Alec, because remember, first Annie was betrothed to Alec, but then her developmental delays were they seemed a bit more restrictive than the king or anybody else wanted.
And on top of that, the king wanted Helena, because she was with child, to go to a good home.
Yeah.
Which that's a weird way to state.
So no, it's true. The king did rehome Helena with Alec. Because that's how women were treated.
Yep. All right, puppy, days. Come here.
Yep.
This is your
and
new home.
Annie went with her because it turns out that like
their family was
Helena
awful.
Yeah, Helena and Annie's family were abusing them as well. And so Alec is like, yeah, I don't think, because everybody's worried that it's not only going to start a war, like stealing Mary Kathleen is not only going to start a war with the dad's family, but also with Helena's side of the family. Mm-hmm. And Alec's like, nobody needs to worry about that because they don't care about children, period, the end. And so then he starts noodling and he's like, it's interesting to think that like kids who are mistreated from birth to whenever can maybe like, what does Jamie say? Like a rot starts in their soul or something? What? You didn't put that together?
How did I?
Sabrina! Oh my God, that's so necrophilia joke, so
I reread these chapters today.
Ooh. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that
Did I just open vistas in your mind?
My God, remember, in the way back machine on Wednesday or Thursday, whatever the fuck we first recorded.
Yeah. A fortnight ago.
Forever ago. We've been in this world for a while. How I said that I
Didn't
had
see
no
it coming.
idea who the murderer was. Well, after talking about this book so extensively, I feel like I should have an honorary master's at this point. And you should too. After this extensive discussion and you pointing out certain things, I'm sitting here going, I would make a terrible detective because none of these things even so much as these are so obvious too. Now that you have pointed them out, I feel like these are Blue's Clues level obvious hints as to who the murderer was. And we get to the very end and they're like, say the murderer's name, and they say it, and I was like, what? That's who the murderer was? Wow.
Oh my
God. No idea. Wow.
I'm too wheezy for you to be this funny. Oh, shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was one of the signposts.
I would get lost on this hike.
You're basically Jamie with this with this sense of direction.
Oh my God, I'm Jamie. I am Jamie and the murderer is the bathroom. My God.
Oh shit.
Fuck. Oh God. Okay.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Ooh. So now Alec is like, and then Angus is about to leave, and they're like, "Are we cool with the plans? We're cool with that." And Angus is like, "Yeah, totes. But I'm gonna go home with my wife." And then Gavin and Marcus are both like, "Well, I'm sorry. You told him a plan, but we don't know plan." They're so upset about it.
They're so cute. I love them.
They're
like, how dare? I
thought we were in our circle.
Yeah.
I thought Circle of Trust was here. And he's like, "You've been with my wife all day. I haven't had time to tell you. So I'm going to tell you the plan now. We're setting a trap tomorrow." And they're like, you know who it is? And then he's like, "I think so." And so they're going to set a trap. Meanwhile, Jamie has also just found out, I'm so sorry, listener, that tomorrow King Edgar is randomly showing up. And I feel like everybody must have known this for at least 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Why wasn't Jamie told at all about this? But King Edgar is showing up tomorrow.
Well, because
So
they don't. As far as they're concerned, she doesn't have to do anything for it. But she has always been,
That's true.
Needed is loved, and so she's always been the one to prepare the house and things like that, and all of those things. Which what the fuck are you gonna prepare? The Great Hall bed? What what do you have to do to prepare for King Edgar?
Are you putting
you hid King William?
Yeah. Are you putting a cot in the blanket for it? Is that what's happening for King Edgar? I don't know.
No, he just gets some extra blankies and he just gets to snuggle up with them. But no,
family bed.
But what? That's why I'm not shocked they didn't tell her, because as far as they're concerned, she doesn't have to do anything for it.
That's true.
He's just gonna get there. She doesn't have to prepare. But she's what
mad.
The fuck?
She's big mad. Yeah. So she's also
fair.
"Oh no,
I don't need the king to come to my house. I have too many seltzer cans sitting on my kitchen counter right now.
I do not want
You're not
the
welcome.
king or anybody. No.
So I understand Jamie's fuss about this.
Absolutely.
But also, like, I can see where they were coming from.
And it's magnified because she still hasn't, like, her being in Scotland is so new that she hasn't yet parsed her feelings on, like, the Scottish and English continued conflict and whether or not she has to be loyal to the Scottish king or if she can stay loyal to the English king or if she can be loyal to both or, like, all this, medieval bullshit. And so they tell her, oh no, Henry and Edgar, they have sleepovers. They love each other so much. They're they are pen paling constantly, which is all not true. And she's like, oh, good. Oh, I was worried. But like now I know it's no problem. I'll just be loyal to everybody.
But like it was so funny because she's like, I've heard that he's horrible. And they're like, what stories have you heard? And she's like, I heard that he had somebody come into his thing and then he blinded him, stabbed him right in the eyes, blah blah blah, and like saying all these things, and they're like, oh,
and there's like a silence.
And they're like, well, that did happen. That was a thing that happened.
Yeah,
and she's.
But what makes him so good is that he didn't. He's kill the challenger.
And on top of that, he's kinder than the English king. And she's like, oh, that's like awful.
How dare you say that about the English king?
And they're like, no, we're complimenting the English king.
Yeah,
Edgar's soft.
Oh my god. Oh, it's so medieval. Okay, so now it's the next day, and she's like,
no, it is.
Oh no, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, tell me everything.
I have to talk about this because it gave me so many.
You're right. What is my problem?
It is bedtime. She goes to bed early and she goes and lays down and she's like sleepy times. And Alec is staying down to like discuss things because, as we have said, there is a plot for the next day. And so they're all doing the chatty chat. And then he comes up to bed, and then we do have a pretty good it's on sex time.
Yeah.
So he wakes her up with a little bit of licky lick and nibbly and like touchy touch, and like it was a good one. So
it's great stuff.
Afterwards, they're all snuggled up, and so if you remember, Alec,
he's gonna fuck with her in Gaelic.
Yeah, because she doesn't think he knows that he speaks. So in Gaelic,
and he's decided to profess his feelings today.
So he's laying in bed with her, and he says, "I know you don't understand what I'm saying to you, Jamie, but I've need to tell you in my own language. I love you, lass, with all my being." He felt her stiffen against him during his recitation. I love you because you're so gentle and loving, caring too. You have a heart of gold, lass. She all but melted against him then. But most of all, Jamie, I love you because you're such a truthful woman. He added when she stiffened against him again. I could never love a woman who'd try to deceive me, but I have complete faith in you. And then in her language, he says good night. And she's like, what did you just say? And he was like, good night. And she's like, no. Before that? What did you say before that? And he's like, oh, it's nothing important.
Yeah. And she's like, did you mean it? Did you mean what you said in that other language that's not important? And he's like, of course, go to bed. Of course I meant it. Go to bed.
Yeah. And just, oh God. And then they do another bone town after that because like they're so horny for each other.
They're such horn dogs. And then we have to do, okay, so then she decides that she's going to surprise him the next day by making her pledge to King Edgar in Gaelic and then professing her love to him in Gaelic.
And wearing the plaid for the first time.
Finally wearing the plaid. That's right. We do have to do a quick detour because it is parent times. And in the middle of the night, the door opens and a teeny tiny little toddle comes over, goes over to Jamie's side. And he's like, hey, don't bother mom. Come here. What can I do? And she's terrified. She's crying. She's terrified. God, this happened a couple of weeks ago with Valor, where like I was just like, what's going on, bud? And she goes, I'm wet. I peed. And I was like, it's okay. Like,
Baby.
it's okay. I will never be mad at you for that. Don't worry about it. And I was like, did you think I was going to be mad? And she goes, mm-hmm. And I said, have I ever been mad at you before for that? And she goes, mm-mm. I was like, yeah, I will never be mad at you. Anyway, sorry. I was like sort of traumatizing as a parent to be like, am I that terrifying? What did I do?
Yeah.
What gave off this signal? Anyway, so he says he pulls off her little tiny nightdress and he goes, now you're not. And it's okay. And then he picks her up and he takes her to like the door and he's like, please get her dressed and put her to bed. And Jamie's about to be like, hey, it should be the dad who puts
Putting
her to
baby
bed.
to bed.
But he's cock out, you know?
Full
like,
cock
he's
out.
just
He's like, I don't need to be walking around.
no, like
this.
Edith is in there. Edith is sleeping
Oh, yeah,
next to
'cause Edith is
baby.
I did have the thought. Logistics.
everything.
These are the logics, the specifics, the details that my brain was
Yeah.
like, that straw mattress is so true.
Ugh.
Is that baby? Are they putting that baby back on that bed? How is Edith not that baby?
How are we handling that? Good idea.
We're
Good
not. We're just
call.
not. We're not gonna think about it. I noted it, and I did have a moment of like,
Well, and it's bananas too. Like now that you put that in my brain that like they're very modern about certain things, you're right, because we found out in that Jude Devereaux book that like this was still the time when they were hanging babies on walls or whatever with like the piss hole between its legs.
I forgot about that.
I know. Yeah, this is different. Anyway, so it's
Moving
all
on.
fine. And they deal with that straw mattress in a totally hygienic way, and everybody slept great.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day happens. They get the great haul together. She's excited about it. And then they're like, King Edgar's about to get here. And she's like, no! And she runs up to the room because she has to change. And then she has to call Father Murdoch in to help her with something. And like he sees her in like her green chemise or whatever it is. And he's like, the fuck is the man of the cloth doing up there? And Father Murdoch comes back down and asks him, and he's like, oh no, I'm not going to ruin the surprise. Like, you just wait. And then just vision of visions. She opens the door and she is wearing a perfectly coiffed plaid that is in the Kincaid colors. And it's the first time he's seen her all done up, obviously, in his plaid.
Alec could do a swoon. Alec
I
has done
mean,
a swoon.
Absolutely.
Oh, my cheeks
Yes.
hurt from smiling so much.
I know.
It's
And then
just
she
so-
comes down and like quintessential Jamie, she's like, now's the time. Now I'm going to get all those words of affirmation. She's like, okay. She's like gearing herself up, doing some stretches, getting ready. And he goes, you look good. But she goes, that's it? And he goes, what, you want
And?
more? Yeah. He's like, what, you want more? She says, no, I guess not. Whatever. And they're like, a bunch of guests are outside. And then one of the guests is like, actually, I came in because I've been so curious about your wife. And it's Laird Harold's son, Justin, who we've like heard about a little bit. He's a scoundrel. He's got a ton of bastard kids all over Scotland. He's a big ol' flirt. And Alec is not comfy with him being around his wife. So Alec is very pleased because Jamie decides that she should be standing next to her husband when she receives guests. And so she goes over next to him and he like locks her with his arm next to him. And he's like holding her tight next to him.
Apparently, Justin is a little bit of a hottie to trot.
Yeah.
Babe magnet.
Yeah. Also that. Yeah.
So,
He's
like,
a scoundrel,
he's gonna
but
lay
also
his,
hot.
He gonna lay his claim.
Oh.
Alex like, this my lady.
Yeah.
And you gonna know it.
And
and
Justin does not know it.
Justin's a big old fucking turd head because Justin's
Justin
like
doesn't
checking her
see
out
any of
like
the
head to
signs.
toe. He's looking
He's
at
doing
her
a boob
the way that a husband looks at a wife, not the
She
way
says
that
it's an earthy look.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And so then everybody's like, okay, well, it's great to meet you, Justin. Shoo outside. And he's like, oh no, I think I'll stay here because I love listening to your very, very intriguing accent.
She's like, it's English.
It's an English accent.
It's English, Justin.
All Scottish people hate English accents more than a nail going over glass.
One of my most favorite things is Jamie's burn. Because at one point she goes, you aren't perchance related to Laird McPherson, are you, Justin? And he's like, nay, Liddy Kincaid, I'm not related. Why would you ask such a thing? And she says, your manners remind me of the Laird. And I was like, slam.
Yeah, that's a slam. That's a slam right there. Well, and also this whole time, everybody, we haven't like made a big thing of it, but everybody's, as soon as they meet her at first, they think her name is Jane. And then when she like clarifies, they're like, but that's a man's name. And she gets really fucking pissed about it every time. But then Justin's standing there. He says that English accent thing. And she's like, get off of it. And he's like, and Jamie, it's just such a beautiful name. And she's like, it's a man's name. And that's that.
It's a man's name. So then she goes gallivanting off. He goes somewhere. And
he's talking politics.
Alec is having a chat with Laird Harold.
No. Connor, who is Laird Harold's like Colin, who is right-hand man.
He and Colin are having a talk because Colin's like, what can we like do basically it doesn't matter. Politics, they're politicking. So all of a sudden Jamie comes meandering back into the hall and she comes up and she stands next to her compassionate husband.
Oh.
And he looks at her and she looks pretty pissed off. And at first he's like, oh, it's because she's annoyed that I'm not giving her the time, but this is important. So he ignores her. And then she like taps him on the shoulder. Tap, 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 tap. And he's like, not now. And she's like, I have to speak with you. I have something that you need to take care of. And he was like, not now. Can you handle it yourself? And she's like, yes.
Fine.
And he's like, well, then handle it yourself. And she's like, all right. So she goes to walk out. She gets all the way to the door. And then she turns around and she giving that weapons wall a big old look-see.
Oh, yeah. She's perusing.
And so, like, Alec hasn't done anything, but he's kind of, like, keeping an eye, like, what is she doing? And then she goes up to that weapons wall and she grabs a big old fucking club and she struggles to get it off the wall. And then she gets it off the wall and it just big old crash on the ground. Everyone's like, what the fuck? And goes back to, like, she just drags this thing out of that great hall. Yeah. Drags that thing out of that great hall and outside. And they're like, what is happening? And then Alec goes, oh my God, Justin's done something. So he goes running outside and she has a man on the ground and she has bashed in the back of his legs with said club. And he is on the ground and she's like, how dare you? This is so rude. How would you and by the way, all of this is in Gaelic. And so she's like, how dare you? How could you? What are you like? This is so rude. I'm Alec Kincaid's wife and he's the only one who should be touching me and blah, blah, blah.
And I love him with a passion that you're never going to even understand.
Yes. And Father Murdoch, or I think it was either Father Murdoch or Gavin, is like trying to pause her and stop her, and it's like, hey, that's not, and she's like, bah, 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 like getting on his ass. And she's like, Alec has instructed me to take care of this problem. I won't have your interference. I told Justin I'd come back with something to make his knees weak, and I did. And then Alec from behind her goes, he's not Justin. Because guess what?
She's like, of course he is.
Justin has an identical twin brother named Philip.
And she's like, not an identical twin.
Oh, no. Did just get his knees knocked out. War number 4, baby.
Wowza. Wowza. So then she like drops her club and she's like, oh, Philip, I'm so sorry. Let me help you up. And he's like crab crawling away from her because she's a nutter butter. And she's like, oh, just, stop moving. Like I can explain everything to you. And she's like, I didn't, like, I'm so sorry. I thought you were someone else. And like Justin came over and he grabbed me and he kissed me. And I was like, get away from me. And then I told him, he said that my eyes like make his knees weak or something. And that's when she said, let me hold on just a moment. I'll go get something that's going to make your knees weak. And at first she was just going to go get Alec so that he could do a big yell on him, which like, Jamie, that's not what would have happened. Like
he
it would not
the fuck out of Justin.
Yeah. Alec would not have used his words in this situation.
He does go to beat the fuck out of Justin.
Yeah. And so then Philip's like, oh, you didn't mean to hit me? And she's like, no, absolutely not. I meant to hit your brother. And he's like, what? You meant to hit my brother? And so now Philip
This is war.
This is war.
But then Justin rolls up and we hear about all the stuff like from the like witnesses and things like that. Because reminder, Jamie has been being followed. Alex set a tail on her. But he told them to be 10 paces away. So by the time they got to her, they couldn't do anything. And that's when she took matters and clubs into her own hands. and then Justin rolls up and Alec is pissed.
And this is one of my favorite lines in the book because it says like a few minutes later, Jamie found herself in a very weird position. She was, what? Do you have it?
I have that highlighted too. You at same page. I fucking loved this. Keep going.
Yeah. Sorry. It was the best. So she's like, she found herself in a very weird position, and that was standing in front of Justin, begging for his life.
So perfect. And she's like, he's just a boy, Alec. It's fine. And then
we don't kill children.
Justin gets all upset. He's like, not a boy. And she's like, you're a boy. Shut up
right now. We're not helping yourself.
And then she's like, you can't kill him. You can't be
promise
bloody.
Me you won't.
And blah, blah. And Alec is like, fine, I won't. And she's like, oh, thank goodness. So she steps out of the way. And then he does come and grab that Justin boy and chunk him like a caber.
That's right. Like one of those trees that they were talking about at some point. Boy, he throws him around. And then she's like, oh, you told me that you wouldn't kill him. And he goes, I'm not going to kill him, but I am going to beat him to piss. And like he gets like a round of from around her, like all around the crowd.
Because all the crowd's like, they would have been fine with him murdering him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so then like Justin and Philip go gallivanting off and Colin's just standing there watching this whole thing. Colin, Harold's right-hand man. And he's like, all right, Kincaid.
What are your terms?
And Alec's like, you have 1 week. And Colin's like, all right. And gallivants off. And Jamie's like, a week for what? And Alec is like, to allay my, like, to take
to
care
appease
of this,
me.
To appease me. And she's like, or else what? And he's like,
and she's like,
war.
I know, she's like cringing. She's like, don't say it. And he's like, war. And she's like, God damn it.
Yeah, she's like, she knew he was going to say that god-awful word. She was still stunned.
Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Aaron, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Aaron and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass. So then she's like, oh, and she realizes that while she was yelling at Justin, she started yelling at him in Gaelic.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you ruined my surprise too. And she's so mad. And then he's like, did you mean it, wife? Did you mean what you said? And she's like, yes, I meant it. but like also like I had a surprise for you. And she's like getting a little misty. And he's like, you know, I don't know. They're gonna like go on with the rest of the day. And she goes, I'm gonna go get Mary Kathleen because she just like needs a baby snuggle right now. She's just like she's at her wit's end. She's very tenuous. And like, I want to go get Mary Kathleen.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, she's not staying with us tonight.
Yeah, she's staying with Angus and Elizabeth. And she's like, why? And also, why did I have a tail on me? And he's like, please just don't question me. Just go with it. And she's like, I guess. Well, I'm going to at least go inside for a few minutes alone because she just found out the king's not coming now.
Yeah,
I guess.
so she's
Somebody
like,
said
oh
he's
my
not
God, my
coming.
plan, like all of my plan, because she, like the whole surprise was that she was going to, in Gaelic, pledge her fealty to King Edgar. And so now she's just all aflutter and she's all upset because the king's not coming and she's wearing the plaid for nothing. The surprise is ruined. He knows she speaks Gaelic and yada yada. So she's like, I'm going inside. And he's like, and she's like, no, don't talk to me.
Don't send anybody after me. I'll club them too.
Yeah. And then she does. She goes gallivanting into that. I'm saying gallivanting a lot. It's just such a word. So she goes gallivanting back into the Great Hall, and there's 4 soldiers in plaids that are not Kincaid standing in there.
I've never seen those plaids before.
Some soldier next to the fireplace waves them off, and they let her through. And then he's like, "Hello, you seem distraught."
He's like, "Hey, what's going on with you? What can I help?" And she's like, "Probably not. I'm a disaster and I ruin everything. And like everything that's right in England is wrong here. And I don't know what to do." And he's like, okay, slow down.
Tell me about it.
Why don't you tell me? Because like, I've got a little bit of sway. I might be able to help.
And she's like, if you knew what shame I've caused the Kincaids, why you'd probably weep too. And I've started so many wars I could barely keep count. And it's like, yeah, Jamie, you have started a lot of wars.
Yeah.
And so she just breaks down in front of this gray-haired soldier holding a goblet of wine and a big old hunk of cheese. And I'm like, that's my man. That's my man. Like,
honestly.
I would also be drawn to the silver-haired fox with a goblet of wine and a hunk of cheese.
Just a hunk and cheese. Yeah. And so he's like, tell me about each war start at the beginning. And so she tells him in detail each and every war she starts. And like, I mean, one of them is like, I'm so sorry I saved your baby.
Yeah.
Like, McPherson can go fuck himself.
McPherson is a McFuckhead. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's that war, and then, like, kidnapping the child, and then there's, like, a war brewing with Daniel, and she's like, but it's okay, I'll just have the king tell Daniel what's what, and that how he should be treating his wife. and this soldier's like,
And he says, what do you think the king would do? And she's like, well, he would set him straight. I think the king would be like, you need to be nice to your wife, and you need to chill out.
Get rid of that mistress. And
that's the one. Yeah. And then she's like, and he goes, and why don't you tell me about that kerfuffle outside when I was riding in? She's like, oh, sure. And then she goes, at the end, she's like, yeah, I'm sure your wife would do the exact same thing. I bet she would just brain a man if they came onto her. She says, because a woman only wants to be pawed by her husband. And he says, well, I'm not married. She's like, but if you were. He goes, yes, I do believe my wife would act like that. And I do believe it would be very justified. And then she also tells him about Mary Kathleen, and she's like, and I'm so worried
throwing the plaid on the ground.
Yeah, she's like, I'm so worried that the king's gonna take the side of the other side. And he's like, oh no, there's absolutely no way. The king will definitely be behind you on that one. So all this happens, and she's like, and my surprise is ruined because I was gonna do this thing on my knees in Gaelic for the king. And he goes, why don't you do a little practice round?
Before that, though, because I love this part, because so I love this scene so much. He's like, you have complete faith in King Edward then, huh? And she's like, oh, yes. And then he's like, you must have heard wonderful stories about Edgar. And she's like, oh, heavens, no. I heard he was a monster.
It's so good. And he's like, what? And she's like, well, in England, in here. Like in Scotland, I've heard different stuff. He's like, oh, okay. Cool sauce.
And then you're right, because he's like, well, if you want to, like, if you're so worried about, why don't you show me how you would pledge fealty to the king.
And she's like, that sounds a little weird, but I guess the practice wouldn't do me any harm. And so she hits her knees and she starts doing that ish in Gaelic. And then she turns around and Alec has been standing at the door for at least a little while. So she goes away from the soldier and he's like, what does she say? She says like, he says something like something that she said. And then she goes, oh, you heard the whole thing? And he's like, yeah. And Alec has already decided that he is not going to tell Jamie that is, in fact, King Edward that she was snarfing all over.
And so they do a little bit of I love yous. And then she's like, you mustn't tell the king that I know that's the king.
She goes, the king is a really nice man. And he's like, you knew the whole time? And she goes, do you think that I would have told a king to pay attention to my story?
Oh, yeah, because her rambly back and forth story, he kept asking clarifying questions. He's like, wait, back up. And she's like, if you would just listen, sir, I need you to buckle down and listen to my story. If you're going to ask about what happened, you need to listen to what happened. And to be fair, I've read the book and I was still kind of all over the place reading her story. So King Edgar was totally in the right, but
he was on point.
Cute.
Yeah, and then and she goes, no, I figured it out halfway into my pledge.
When I was kneeling. But you mustn't tell him. And he's like, why? And she's like, it'd hurt his feelings. And he's like, why would it? What? And she's like, it's because he's protecting my feelings. We mustn't disappoint him.
We can't disappoint the king. It's so cute. So then, like, something that came from the very beginning of the book that we haven't talked about or thought about comes full circle. And they're like, oh, no, not yet. There's more things that have to happen. I'm so sorry. I almost skipped the entire afternoon.
Oh my God, how dare you? We have one chapter left, which means like roughly 18 plot points.
It's exactly true. And I was just skipping to the epilogue. Nobody would have known who the murderer was.
Oh, I barely remembered there was a murder at this point in the book.
I know.
But yeah, so
she goes walking around.
Yeah, and she's going to go talk to Edith. And then she finds out that Edith and Annie are being sent away.
Yeah.
And she's
being sent to live with other relations.
How the fuck dare? We already discussed this. They are going to be staying and blah, blah, blah.
We're going to be BFFs.
And then, I lost my train of thought.
Oh no. So then she's like, okay, fine. I'm going to go out. And she decides to like take a minute. And when she's outside, she runs into Gavin. And Gavin's like, what you doing? And why are you all by yourself? And she's like, I mean, if you want to come with me, I'm just going to go lay some flowers on Helena's grave. And so he's like, okay, that's a little weird. And so she's picking flowers on the way and she's asking him again about Helena. And he's like, I don't know. Like, she was obviously just in a lot of pain. She's like, yeah, but did you see the pain? Did you see any signs of anything? And he's like, well, no, but I also didn't know her very well. And it wasn't really my place to question anything. And then she says, she's like, well, I feel like I need to understand this. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I feel like Helena needs me to understand it.
Well, and she wants to understand it because when Mary Kathleen grows up and starts asking questions, she wants to be able to answer her.
Yep.
And not with just like some bullshit, but with something thoughtful about her mother.
Yeah. Well, and not something that doesn't make sense to her either. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to just go in with the party line because. So they go to the grave and he's like, there are flowers all over this ish. And she's like, yeah, those are the old flowers I put on. Jeez, Gavin, God. She's like cleaning off all the flowers so that she can put more on. Then it's obvious she's been doing this the whole time. Every time we've seen her picking flowers.
Well, it's sure obvious now that you've told me. now that you made it clear to me that that's why she's been. Yeah, it's super obvious. Where's that bathroom? Like.
Oh my God. So then she's like, no, you know what? Let's go over to that cliff. That
I want to
clip
see
where
it.
Helena did die, I want to look at it.
So then he's telling her the story about
Mhm.
exactly what happened, how she fell over the edge. And then when they got her, there was nothing that could have been done because her back was broken and she died 2 days later. She just went to sleep and she never woke up. And they're all chatting there. They're all chatting. And he's telling her that story. And then
And then people just start getting bashed in the brain.
with rocks. He gets hit
With
in the head.
rocks.
She gets hit in the face. And this
She
is over
grabs
this ledge,
Gavin.
and she remembers just barely that one of the sides is a good place to fall and one of the sides is not. So she grabs Gavin and just flops over the side of this thing to get away from whoever is doing the thing. And she hits this thing and she's holding him and like hiding him under the ledge.
Yeah, she like pulls him onto the ledge so that she can, keep him there. And then she hears that cackle again. And she's like, Gavin, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to figure this out. Like, I'm going to get you help. Gavin is knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
And
then
Marcus
shows up. And so he pops his head over and he's like, oh my God, what happened? And she's like, you need to go get people. We got knocked over the thing. Like,
but don't leave.
But don't. Yeah. And so Marcus is like, ah! And like goes like shouting to the rafters. And people,
so everybody comes out. She passes out.
And so she comes back too with Alex standing over her, looking at her, and he looks tormented and
distraught.
He's holding her. He's like, it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna get you out of here. And she's like, you have to take Gavin out first because he's more hurt and things like that.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I lost my dagger. And Alex,
well, because, I'm sorry. As they were going over the side, that dagger got thrown and it is in her arm right now.
She doesn't realize it's in her arm, though. She thinks it just got chunked over the side of the ledge. And she's like, I lost my dagger. And Alec is looking at her.
Yeah.
Dagger in her arm.
Yeah.
And he's like, And then
he rips off a piece of cloth and then he just pulls it out and ties it up real quick. And she's like, no. And he's like, you would have worried about it the whole time had I not just pulled it out. She's like, you're right. So then they get back and she's like, Alec, didn't you say there was a witness to Helena's suicide? And Alec goes, yep, it was Annie. And then end chapter, end scene.
And then this is the moment where I went,
and I went, mm-hmm.
This is the moment where I went, oh, it was Annie.
I love it so much. Oh my God. So basically, she's like, also, now I realize that the fire situation was an attempted murder. And they're like, who told you that? And she's like, nobody told me that. I just
the laugh.
Yeah, the laugh that I thought was like the wind making weird noises. It was definitely the same laugh, and I was definitely being attempted murdered again. So I figured they were probably related, Anyway, that's what happened. Annie was pissed off because she was betrothed to him and Helena took her place. And so she killed Helena to try and become the Laird's wife at some point, maybe. Or maybe not.
And then when Jamie showed up, she was like, okay, well, I guess I got to kill another. Like, I'm going to eventually, so what she said is, I'll be your wife. I will, no matter how long it takes me. Helena took you away from me. I challenged you then, Alec, and I'll challenge you again. And Annie is just dead set. She's like, this is my right to be your wife.
And it's not, Annie. I hate to tell you this, but it's probably the noose
Sweetie
for
heart.
you.
Sweetie heart, babe. Yeah, this is not.
I don't really know a ton about it, but so anyway, that's now solved. They get better. Does anything else happen that's important?
So this is the point. I would like to say this is the point reading this book. Where we're 332 pages in out of 344 pages. The murder is solved. The shenanigans saw all of these things. And I was like, this is the end. How is there going to be more in 12 pages? And I was wrong.
There's an entire invasion in 12 pages.
So
One of the things that
so like we also
happened-
learn like Jamie learns that like Edith and Annie are not actually going anywhere. Edith is staying. She's super happy about that. And yay. That's awesome. But then it's just like fucktown for a week. Literally, there's just a page where it's like all they did was spend time in bed because she's healed from the dagger wound and all of these things.
And then somebody calls in a debt. So early on in the book, she was like betrothed to this other baron or whatever. And there was that whole tiny plot point in which her dad did take coins from the baron that was not to sell her to him, but was absolutely alone. He keeps telling her.
Andrew.
And so Andrew is coming to get her, and it's war. It's the 5th war now, I believe. And she's like, oh no, what do I do? What do I do? And she decides, so she talks to Mary. Mary's like, he's been marching through Scotland to get to the Highlands for like days and days and days. So he's a coming, and he's got his whole, platoon or whatever the fuck with him. And so she's like, you know what? I can fix this. I can just go talk to him. I can fix this. So she gets on her horse and she's like, okay, he said up was house, down is England. I bet he's coming from the England side. So she goes,
good job.
Great job, Jamie. Great job. Good start. So she fucks off. And then Alec finds out that she fucks off. And he's like, oh, fuck sticks. So then he gets all his dudes. And he's like, we're going to take care of this. But first we have to go get that bitch. So they like follow her tracks or whatever. And she's going well for a while. But then she does like hang a rocco, or something at the wrong turn. And they're like, where is she going? Does she know like a secret place that Andrew's going to be? And he's like, no, she's lost. So they do find her. And then all of them, him, her, Gavin, Marcus, all their boys, they go a riding to like meet up with Andrew. And so Andrew's on the field and they're on the field. And then out of the fucking mist, a bunch of Highlanders just come out of
all
like the trees and the woods. Everybody's in different plaids. It's all the lairds of all the Highlands. And so Andrew's like, yeah, I paid for that bitch. Give her to me.
And
or
Alec
like, give me repayment.
No.
And Alec is about to give him his whole ass sword, which has like a metric fuck ton of jewels in it.
It's the original sword. It's that one. It's that big bad sword where, which is the one from when Jamie was like, "You have a sword." Yeah,
absolutely,
give it away.
Because she's like, you don't have you don't use coins in Scotland. Yeah, I know that now. I did find that out recently. And
she does still pay for the indulgences, though.
Absolutely.
It is noted that she is still giving Father Murdoch her magically reappearing shillings for all of Alec's not her own indulgences. Alec's
no, fuck her soul. Yeah, it's all for Alec. So he's like, okay, fine. I won't give away my whole sword, but I will pop one of these rubies out or whatever.
And then he does do a chunk.
Yeah, he throws it at Andrew's feet.
And
he's
hits
like,
him. Doesn't he hit him with it?
Yeah, I think he hits him in the face.
Because that's what starts this whole thing off. So he hits Andrew in the side of the head with this fucking gigantic stone.
And he says, repayment for Lady Kincaid or something like that. And then all of a sudden another Highlander chucks something. And he's like, repayment for Lady Kincaid.
And now it's just stones coming out of like everywhere.
And now they're like old style stoning him almost with all of these rubies and emeralds.
Like, what the fuck is happening? And it turns out Laird Macpherson is here to repay because she saved his son's life. Daniel's repaying because she placed herself in front of his wife to protect her. And Harold, because she took his son's insult and then saved her son, or saved his son from being attackulated by Alec. And then Lindsay, if you remember the small boy with the boar, Lindsay's dad is there because of the boar. And of course, nobody knew about the boar. And so she's like, wait, you know about the boar? And he's like, we know about the boar.
Yeah, I found out about the boar.
And then there's somebody Laird Duncan, because his wife, he's like prepaying for future aid because his wife is pregnant.
She's gonna have a baby at some point.
Yeah, and so he wants her to be there for the birthing. So they're like prepaying. This is like and it's just so cute. And they're all like doing this. And she's like, do I thank them? And he's just like, no, they're thanking you. Each of these would give his life for you. And you've done the impossible, love. You've actually united the clans.
I'm dying, Julie Garwood, I'm dying. And then it's so cute because she's like, you have made Andrew a really rich man, because Andrew's just like on his knees picking up all these stones like a greedy golem. And he goes, oh no, lass, I've got the treasure right here. Anyway.
Oh, good. It's so
fantastic.
Good. And then so this is like the end of that, and all of that's the end of that. And then there's one of the very, very last line of the book really hit me, because it says, there was joy in the learning. Here. She still didn't understand most of the odd habits of the Highlanders. Guessed it would take her a good 20 or 30 years before she truly did comprehend them. There was joy in the learning, though. Such incredible joy and love. Perhaps, she thought with a secret smile, when she and Alec had grown old together, perhaps then she might just settle in. And I had a lot of feelings. Because that's been the whole thing over the book. It's fine. She'll settle in. She'll settle in. She'll settle in. And she's like,
maybe someday.
After we've grown old together.
It's going to take me a really long time, because I really love learning about them. It's so good.
I loved this book.
I love this book. And I know it's problematic.
Oh, absolutely.
Places.
So, one of those things where, you can enjoy a problematic media as long as you recognize,
address it,
and acknowledge that it is, in fact, problematic. But it doesn't make the whole thing trash.
Right.
And this is pretty much, I feel like most old historicals are like that.
Yeah.
All of the ones that I've read,
I mean, this one's mild. Fires of Winter, I'm so sorry, is actual trash that should go in a garbage fire.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
There's a line. There is a line where it is acceptable, and there's a line where it is not. This one,
Gentle
acceptable.
Rogue is amazing. Fires of Winter should never be read again. That's my
fair enough.
My honest opinion.
Read Fires of Winter.
Don't.
I won't.
It's a big trigger town. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
It's not great.
This one, it was really, like I said, I went into this with a open heart and a wary mind. And I'm glad that I did. Because if I was going in fully already deciding that this book was trash because it's written in 1989 or published in 1989, and fully deciding that it's going to be nothing but problem, because if I really sat down and nitpicked, we could have easily made this set of episodes all about how problematic things were.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm jaded or whatever from books like Fires of Winter, but it was problematic. But we would
have had to spin it for it to be nothing but a problematic book, because there are so many good things about this book. We could have done that episode, but it wouldn't have brought either of us joy. Nobody would have wanted to listen to it.
It wouldn't have been honest.
Not true, because the book was good.
It was a good book. Book was good.
It was delightful. And I'm not in a historical mood right now, but I will be going back probably, because now I trust Julie Garwood.
Ooh, yeah.
So that's one of the things where if a writer, especially one that writes in times where it was very, very common for books to be super problematic in whatever way, because every not generation, but every time period of romance has its own set of it's going to be problematic in this way, or it's going to be problematic in what I mean?
Because it reflects culture. Yeah.
And if I am willing to read more books from those time periods, if I find an author that I trust. So Beverly Jenkins, I'll read her old stuff. I trust Beverly Jenkins. And now after this book, if the next book I read by her is an absolute dumpster fire, then I'll have to rethink that. But just based on this book, I trust her to do right by me.
Totally.
And so I will be checking her out again.
I love it. Yay. Oh my gosh. Wow. This was so much fun. Thank you for talking about this for 6 hours with me.
Thank you for chatting with me about it first. I did not expect it to be a 3-episode.
Me neither.
You are literally the person, aside from my coworkers, who I am paid to go talk to 5 days a week. You're the person I have talked to the most this week. Whether it be over phone or over text message. So how does it feel to be my number one best friend for this week?
Honestly, it feels incredible. Would recommend. 10 out of 10. We'll be back.
Right back at you, babe.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
Man. By the way, I have one more comment.
Tell me everything.
There was so much. I am just angry all over again when I reread today. There's so much sequel bait in this book for a book on Daniel and Mary fixing their marriage. And I'm just endlessly
I don't know that it exists.
Upset that I don't think it exists.
I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, and I'm fucking pissed about it.
I went creeping through some of her back catalog, and I did not find it. And
big mad.
So much sequel bait, because there was a tiny scene at the end where she's like, you should let him keep the mistress, and then
tell him to keep the mistress.
Let him know what he's missing. And I'm like,
well, no. She says, no, it's even better than that. She says, you know what you do? You tell him, you go ahead and keep your mistress. It's clear that you need more practice. And so as soon as you feel like you have practiced to the point that you are worthy of sexing this up, then you can come back and we can chat about it again. And apparently Mary was gone for 2 days after that. She did not see her sister for 2 days. And then Mary came back with all the tales about how incredible Daniel was. And it seems like Mistress is gone. So, wow, would have loved that book, Julie.
Yeah.
You could have redeemed Mary.
Dear Julie.
Hello, Julie Garwood.
I know that it's 34 years later.
Hello, Julie. We still believe in you.
We want that book. I know you write suspense thriller romance now. But, I don't actually know that. Somebody told me that. I'm taking their word for it. But just one last trip would be really nice.
Just come to the Highlands again, you know?
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to us, hearing us out. And we will be happy with whatever decision you make. Thank you so much, Julie Garwood.
We will. Whenever that book comes out, we will come back. We're do an episode on that book.
Absolutely.
I am simply guest, but I have decided.
No, you can. No, you're hereby in charge of the programming here at Heaving Bosoms, Sabrina. This is a great idea.
All right. Well.
Yeah. All right. I adore you.
Love?
What's my lady love? I had one earlier that was really good, and it was about something that was like broken. But I can't remember what it was, and I'm going to be really fucking pissed at myself as soon as I remember it. That's why I need to write them down. Anyway, the lady love that I'm very late to the party. We were just talking to my friend Hector about how I'm like the oldest millennial ever, not only because I'm an old millennial, but because I grew up so rural that like I didn't have access to even millennial technology until way later in my life than most other people my age. So I'm late to the party, but I also just moved, right? So I moved to a different library area, and the library where I live now is like light years more advanced and interactive and like awesome than, my poor library in my old town. And so, as a result, I have discovered audiobooks on Hoopla. I heard everybody talking about it, okay? I heard you, and I was like, that must be nice. I wonder what that's like. I'll never know. But, boy, I have started checking some shit out from my library. And like my whole plan, driving from here to DC for a Polycon is audiobooks on my car stereo. I'm so excited about it. So yeah, if you're an old millennial, if you're basically a Gen Xer, whether or not you just turned 36, check out those audiobooks on Hoopla. And maybe even an overstock. No.
Overdrive.
An overdrive. Yeah. I also got and Libby.
So I'm
Which
just
is
going to
maybe an
sit
overdrive.
here in envy because my library does not have Hoopla. I live in rural Arkansas. I do have Libby. I listen to a lot of audiobooks on Libby, and I'm also on Scribed. Like, I'm subscribed to Scribed. But, like, everyone's like, oh, just get Hoopla. And I'm like,
yeah, I don't have it.
Thanks for the advice.
One thing I did hear, I don't know if this is, like, super helpful, because I did hear that you can, like, pay for a non-residential card for something like the Brooklyn Library and then get Hoopla
into
through
that.
there.
They stopped doing it through.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, the Brooklyn Library. They stopped like end of last year or something like that.
We've got library friends.
Hey,
library friends.
Constantly on the lookout because I want access to Hoopla so bad.
Hey, librarians. There are a metric fuck ton of you in the listenership, and we cherish you. If you know a way that Sabrina and other rural HBs can get Hoopla through a different library, please.
I'll pay for it.
heavingbosoms@gmail.com, and I will blast it to the world so that we can get more HBs on Hoopla. Anyway.
That's a great
please.
lady love though, because like I know
Let me know.
Hoopla has like a crazy good not back catalog, but like a crazy good catalog for.
It's bananas.
Yeah.
It's bananas. I've never listened to a Ruby Dixon audiobook before because I find them so quick. Yeah, but I find like her so engrossing that like I don't need an audiobook. I'm always just like, no, I'll let my children starve. I will let the house fall down. I'm just eyeball reading this until I'm done. And there's not a lot of authors that do that for me. But now I can do a Ruby Dixon Dragon Town or a Ruby Dixon other stuff.
Oh, can I
audio.
tell you, this is just a little based on audiobooks. If you have not, I know that you read Soul Eater for Bonkers. The audiobook came out in February and they've been coming out every month.
Are they
since
so good?
Then. So fucking, I got Audible.
Yeah.
For Soul Eater, and I have zero regrets.
Whoa.
So good.
That's huge.
Because there are books where like there are books where an author makes or breaks it, but I'm not reading those breaks it books.
Mm-hmm.
But like there are books where like a narrator makes it or breaks it. And Michael Lindsay is the narrator, and he does such a good fucking job. It's just reawakened like all of my delight for
I love those books.
series.
I went on a rabbit hole like actually just last month. I talked about it on a Bonkers episode, the most recent Bonkers episode, because I went deep into a Lily Bane, and I'm very excited that there are audiobooks now.
Have you read Lore?
No, I haven't read Lore yet. Because it fairly recently came out, right?
Yeah. Okay, when you read Lore, I need you just live message me as you have feelings. Like, actually, any. And then
maybe
honestly,
we should
any book you can live send me anything about any books, but especially Lore, because it was my first 5-star of this year. It was, if you like world building.
Yeah, because it goes into that monster realm.
You know what we should do? It explains so much.
If you want to, we should recap it for Patreon.
I'd be so down for that. I'll have to reread it. Oh no!
Oh shoot!
No!
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, I'm not a rereader, but I would absolutely reread Lore if you wanted to do a Patreon. I would. Totally
that would be so fun. Yeah, because I need to read it anyway. So if I give myself That's one of the things, right? Like one of the bad things about the podcast is that sometimes it does feel like required reading.
Mhm.
On the other hand, the much heavier side of the scale is that the podcast is a really good excuse to like hard schedule time with book
To
people that I
read.
love to read and also talk about it. You know what I mean? Because I find I get so much more out of the books that I can discuss, like, face to face with someone than I do
I
with books I'm just
legit,
like inhaling.
like, if we're doing that, I just might do a reread of the series. Do you just want to do like
I
a
don't blame you.
gigantic? We'll just read all of them and we'll discuss the world and everything about it. Like,
Sabrina, I
I'm not opposed to that. I fucking love that series.
Ma'am, if you want to do a whole Patreon series on the monstrous Schmurgle, I will do it.
Especially
happily, easily, whenever.
Especially because all of the short stories are coming out
Yeah.
as a novel this year. Every short story. So
Oh,
we could literally
shit.
read the book and then read like everything in order of when it happens in the
Oh my God, I would lose my mind. So yes,
we
we're
will
doing
discuss. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
My
Do you have a
lady love.
I think it's the monstrous series, maybe. Or
That yeah.
No, you've
that
been. I'm sorry, everyone. Sabrina just told me before we started recording that she has read 6 books since the last time I spoke to her on Friday. It is Sunday. The fuck?
I read 3.5 of them yesterday, and then I read,
How-
or actually, it may have only been 5 books. I don't know. It was
Oh,
5 or 6.
Only 5.
All I know is I'm more than halfway. I had read the first book in the Zion Warriors series as of Friday
That's
afternoon,
right.
and I'm now on the 6th. I'm like halfway through the 6th book as of starting this podcast episode today. So it's like 5-ish, 5.5.
I love it.
So my lady love is inspired by the Zion Warriors series by Regine Abel, who is one of my one-click authors. If you have not read the I Married a Blank series, you are missing out.
Oh yeah.
It is so light and fluffy, but my lady love is something that Regine Abel and Susan Trombley, also, both of them, those are my 2 number 1 for this specific lady love. If you like a enormous overarching plot that is built on in every book and like worked like just a space opera. If you like a space opera that is not on a single world and in fact is an entire like it involves an entire galaxy and like there's like galactic politics and also fucking incredible love stories and just if you like a space opera where they don't die in the end.
Holy shit.
That's my lady love is space operas. And I like, it's so hard to find exactly what I'm talking about when I'm looking for things. Because what I want is I want a giant overarching plot. There are plenty of books where like I enjoy the series a lot. Alien series is where I really enjoy the series. But it's very much like snippets of the world. It's like they affect the next book a little bit, but it's not like a huge thing.
Not make
and
or
there
break,
is
yeah,
exactly. Or like a good example of that would be like there's a series a good example is the Kraken series by Tiffany Roberts, right? So like love that series. It's got like just the right amount of like alienness that I'm looking for, but it's all on one planet, which is fine. But each book is kind of like it affects like it like the previous books are referenced in the next books, like things that have happened, but it's not like this ongoing outside plot that is overarching everything. And the Zion Warrior series is just reminding me how much I fucking love that, and there's not enough of that out there.
Oh my gosh.
It's so good.
And what's the one that Susan Trombley does? That's like
she does the like her whole universe basically, like all of her books reference like there are little Easter eggs in them. So like she has an apocalyptic series set in a different universe, but in that universe there are things that are referenced that touch on the Iridian universe. And so it's
Whoa.
like the first book, I think, is called The Scorpion. Yeah, it's The Scorpion's Mate. You've probably seen it because when people are recommending things, because when people ask for like, I want an alien that actually looks like an alien, isn't just like a green or
humanoid.
a blue or a gold humanoid or something. And boy howdy, that's an alien. There's also there's cum as food in that book, so if that's your thing, it's not super easy to find. Like, you can live on
a
cum.
tough,
Yeah. And but that whole series,
balanced meal,
like, so fucking good, and it's darker, which, like, I tend to like my space operas. I mean, usually the space operas are a little bit darker, you know, because they're dealing with like intergalactic slavery and like war and things like that. But it's just it is so good. Susan Trombley is a recent author to me, and she is I started reading her books in the end of December of this past year, and I finished her entire back catalog in 23 days. It's like 28 books. I could not stop. I started reading The Scorpion's Mate, and I just didn't stop.
And you housed them.
I did. They were so good. She is immediately like one-click author. But anyway, so that is my lady love, is gigantic overarching space opera plots. And if anybody is interested in that, Susan Trombley has that shit on point, and so does Regine Abel. And just Ella
and again,
Maven
if
is
you
also
have
a really
more.
good example. It's not so much like space opera experiences, but like Ella Maven, her Alien series, also like goes off world and stuff like that, which I really like, because like I like it when they spend time on like different planets and things like that. So like Ella Maven, Presley Hall. I'm just gonna sit here and like throw authors at y'all.
I love it.
Aliens are my thing. So like, if you're ever looking for an alien book, hit me up.
Sabrina is your source.
I love an alien.
She will get you what you need.
Sci-fi is my absolute favorite.
I love it. I love it. All right.
Okay.
Let me see. Do you want to tell them where they can find you? We haven't done that yet.
Okay. So yeah, you can find me. I'm on Instagram kind of sporadically. That's probably the best place to find me if you're looking for like booky stuff. Well, that's not true. You can find me in the cult. I'm one of your mods.
Yeah.
Hi, friends.
Yeah.
Sabrina B here. So you can find me in the cult. And then, is it okay if I?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I did this.
Me and 3 of my good friends, best friends, are starting a podcast. It's a romance podcast, and it is reading challenge / like prompts based. And basically what we do is come together and talk prompts and books that
fit those prompts.
Books that fit those prompts. A lot of recommendations, and it's not out yet, but it is called The Busy Romnivores, and we're super excited. So feel free to come check it out. We do have a site, and so our website is thebusyromnivores.com. Right now it just says coming soon, because all of that we're still working on that, but we have started talking a bit on our Instagram, so feel free to come say hi if you want to hear me talk and squee about books some more.
Yeah, and I can link all of that in the show notes if you send it to me.
Yeah, I will, absolutely.
Hell yeah!
I have a podcast.
You said it out loud in public.
This is going out to the world. It's freaking me out a little bit. I did a terrible job describing what the podcast is going to be, but that's fine.
You didn't. No, you're the queen of challenges, and that's why like this format especially is perfect. Perfect for you and the rest of your pals. It sounds amazing. I'm so excited to listen.
Excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said
and like
it out
you're gonna
loud.
make everybody's TBRs just like fall over.
Explode.
To the ground.
Oh, but that reminds me though, TBR's exploding. HBs, if any of you have a space opera recommendation,
I was just about
please email
heavingbosoms@gmail.com. Send us space operas and I will make sure that Sabrina gets it.
Yes, please. Yeah, I was like, I don't actually know what I saved y'all's email to my email like years ago. So I don't actually know. Please, love a space opera. Okay.
All right. keeping a badass and love yourself.
As much as you love... oh, that was fucked up. Never mind, I'm not saying that one.
What did we say that was funny?
Oh
my God. Wait, no. Love yourself as much as you love losing your way in a bathroom and not handling any kind of height.
Why is last episode's Lady Love and this one so me specific?
I mean, because you're a goddess. I don't know. What do you
want?
want?
You're a goddess. Love yourself as much as you love taking yourself to a trampoline park because you had to adult at your kid's birthday party.
Yes! Do it. All right, bye.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.